Hey, I'm Rich with Southeast Auto Showroom, and behind me, we have a very unique car today. I'm going to do a little bit of a lengthy video here just to describe this car inside and out, front to back, so you can truly understand what this car is, because this is going to be a bit of a confusing car just with our normal description and photos, stuff like that. It definitely needs some explaining so you can fully grasp what the car is as a whole. So what you're looking at here is a 2010 911 Turbo. Um, so this car back in 2010 was originally purchased as a 911 Turbo and then fully converted. This is probably the most accurate conversion you're ever going to see to a GT2 RS because all of the conversion parts are factory Porsche OEM parts. Um, it was an astronomical expense to do that, but it was done. Everywhere you look on the car is going to be, like I said, special order Porsche parts. If you were to do this today, you couldn't even do it. I mean, you'd have to be insane to spend the type of money that it would cost to, convert a car in today's market with the pricing. For example, this bumper back in 2010 was probably about $8,000 in these receipts. We looked it up the other day. I think it's 25 or $26,000 now. So this is a really unique car. So it has three phases that I'm going to do it in. Obviously, the looks of the exterior of the car, the cosmetic appeal to the car, the performance of the car, because it has been modified with some performance modifications, and then the entire interior is all done as well to suit the exact, conversion of a GT2 RS. So, I mean, starting with the front of the car, OEM carbon fiber GT2 RS hood, you can literally lift that thing open with a pinky. Bumpers, inlets in the bumper, carbon fiber mirrors, intake ducts, carbon fiber. The rear of the car consists of all the carbon fiber components that it would have. The spoiler, once again, rear bumper, GT2 RS exhaust. And I mean, it's going to be hard for me to track down all the receipts from 2010, but we've got a good stack of them. As you can see here, there is a good amount of paperwork that I have with the car. This first page alone, if I could get this all sorted out here, is most of the body components. And this first page alone totals over $50,000 in pricing. So this is a good bulk of the car, but it's not the entire car. The entire car we have totaled up right now to about $160,000 with what's on the car right now as it sits. So if you were to go buy, say, a normal 997 turbo right now, and you'd have to go spend, like I said, that was 160 grand back then. I'm sure all the parts have increased substantially over those years. We've had this in the Southeast family for about 7-8 years now. So we purchased this car about 7-8 years ago. Never been advertised, never for sale. We kind of added our few pieces to it and had some fun with it over the years. It's probably been given more oil changes than it has been driven. Moving on to the wheel and brake setup, it has a full center lock wheel conversion. 5 lug wheels came off, center lock wheels went on with the full conversion, which is the hub, the center lock, the wheel itself. Once again, a gigantic expense to do that. Most people are never going to convert a car to center locks. The even bigger expense are these carbon ceramic brakes. Nobody in their right mind is ever going to spend the money on to convert a steel disc to a carbon ceramic setup. This setup here, you can go online right now and check for yourself. Any Porsche website or Suncoast Porsche parts, $33,000 for the front, the rear rotors, and then the pads are extra, obviously. So that's a gigantic expense right there. I don't think anybody's gonna convert a car to carbon ceramics. So it has a substantial amount of money spent right there alone. You have the body, and now moving to the performance before I go inside the car. So, like I said, we've owned this car for about 7-8 years, and when we received the car uh, back then, we received it cosmetically as it sits. We did the carbon ceramics, we did the full interior, and we did the performance. So the performance is a nice, simple, yet super powerful setup. We went with 68 millimeter turbos, so those are bigger than the factory turbos. So you have bigger turbos, you have a methanol injection in the front trunk, which I'll show you, and we made that super discreet. There's a nice shelf that hides the entire tank. stainless steel braided line throughout the entire underneath of the car, so it's not a cheap kit at all. Intercoolers, IPD plenum, catless bypass pipes, pretty much full bolt-ons with the methanol kit. Gives it a really nice kick and horsepower without being detrimental to anything, without giving you headaches. You can drive the car whenever, wherever, and you just pick up a lot of power. We didn't do anything to the motor. We didn't go crazy with the turbo size. We didn't go crazy with the tune. Has a custom tune via Cobb access port along with the PDK flash, so the transmission is flashed as well. And that is pretty much it for the outside of the car and the performance aspect of it. Let's go ahead and move on to the inside of the car. So the inside of the car has a ton of Alcantara, a ton of carbon fiber. It has a painted to match GMG roll cage, a factory RS rear seat delete in the rear. Those are OEM factory carbon buckets. Those alone are $13,000 if you can even find them. We were lucky enough to snag a set years ago. They go in and out of stock, so they're not the easiest seat to find. Inside the car, we did a lower portion of the dash Alcantara, some Alcantara bits in the door panel. Full center console is wrapped in Alcantara, and everywhere we could pretty much put a carbon piece inside, we put one. So there's really none of that black plastic going on in the car anymore. There's carbon fiber trim pretty much everywhere and throughout. Now, basically, the two dead giveaways with this car that it's not a true GT2 RS are going to be obviously the PDK transmission and the sunroof. Those are pretty much the only two things that you're going to find in this car that doesn't look identical to an RS, or GT2 RS at that, and not a turbo. So if you park this car, which we have dozens of times side by side, those are basically the only two things that you're going to see that give it away that it's not a true GT2 RS. I can't stress this enough that this is not an aftermarket body kit car. So this is not a car that you're going to go build for $30,000-$40,000 with a bunch of aftermarket parts. The receipts to show will show that, once again, everything on the car, exterior wise, are factory OEM Porsche parts. They're all special ordered back then, but there's plenty of aftermarket companies that make these parts that look very similar. But the fit and finish is never going to be better than factory. And that's what this is it basically a factory fit and finish, which is, once again, extremely unique. I think it's basically one of one. I don't think there's going to be anything out there that can come close to this car quality wise. And the amount of money that was spent in this is so astronomical that I don't see anybody really going that deep and that far into converting a car. All right, that's going to wrap things up. And like I said, any specific questions, you need anything at all information wise, please feel free to reach out. Go over anything I can on the car with you guys, and hopefully it finds a new home soon.